Every day we meet people who leave impressions, some fleeting, some lasting, yet most of us interact without truly understanding the subtle currents beneath the surface. We hear words, but miss the emotions behind them. We see faces, but overlook the stories they tell. We respond automatically reacting instead of consciously engaging. Imagine for a moment that you could step beyond assumptions and discover the hidden signals that guide human behavior. Imagine being able to sense moods, intentions, and unspoken thoughts with clarity and confidence. This is not magic or guesswork. This is a skill you can develop, a power that transforms how you connect with the world. Reading people is like reading a map of emotions, thoughts, and intentions. The landscape is full of signs, some obvious and others hidden in plain sight. Learning to navigate this map allows you to communicate effectively, to respond appropriately, and to influence outcomes in a positive way. It begins with awareness, a willingness to observe not just with your eyes, but with your mind, to notice not just actions, but the feelings and meanings that underlie them. Responding like a pro is the natural next step. Once you understand the signals, you can choose how to act. You can diffuse tension with a calm voice, offer encouragement with a simple gesture, or inspire trust with a sincere smile. It is not about manipulation, but about mastery of connection, mastery of understanding, and mastery of yourself. Each interaction becomes an opportunity to grow, to learn, to inspire, and to create meaningful relationships. Throughout this journey, you will meet stories of people who transformed their lives simply by learning to see others clearly and respond consciously. You will discover techniques to sharpen your perception and build intuition. You will explore ways to communicate with empathy, confidence, and precision. You will see that the key to influence is not in speaking louder or pushing harder, but in listening deeper, observing closely, and responding thoughtfully. This book is an invitation to awaken your inner observer, to embrace empathy, and to step into the realm of skilled and conscious communication. It is a guide to understanding people, not just superficially, but profoundly, to responding with purpose, and to creating connections that empower both you and those around you. Your journey begins here on the path to reading people like a master and responding like a professional. Chapter 1: Awakening the Observer. Within every great communicator, every influential leader, and every person who easily connects with others shares one powerful ability. They observe people deeply before they respond. They notice expressions, energy, posture, tone, and emotion that most people ignore. This ability is not a mysterious talent given only to a few. It is a skill that can be trained, developed, and strengthened. Through awareness and practice, many people move through life reacting quickly. They hear words and immediately respond without understanding the deeper meaning behind them. They assume intentions, misunderstand emotions, and sometimes create conflict without realizing it. But the moment a person learns to slow down and observe carefully, everything begins to change. Conversations become clearer, relationships become stronger, and decisions become wiser. The first step in learning to read people is awakening the observer within you. The observer is the quiet part of your mind that watches and listens. Without rushing to judge, it notices small signals that reveal how someone truly feels. When the observer becomes active, you begin to see details that were always present, but previously unnoticed. Imagine a young professional named Hamza, who recently started working in a busy office. During meetings, he often felt nervous because he believed his manager was always unhappy with his ideas. Whenever Hamza presented something, he noticed the manager leaning back in the chair with arms folded. Hamza interpreted this posture as rejection and criticism. Because of this belief, his confidence slowly decreased and his presentations became weaker. One day, Hamza attended a leadership workshop where the trainer explained the importance of observation. The trainer said that body language must always be understood within context and not through quick assumptions. Hamza decided to test this idea. At the next meeting, he focused on observing more carefully. Instead of assuming negativity, he watched the entire behavior of his manager. He noticed that the manager leaned back and folded arms, not only when Hamza spoke, but also when other team members presented ideas. He also noticed that the manager leaned forward when something interesting appeared on the screen. After the meeting, Hamza realized something important. The folded arms were not a sign of rejection. They were simply a comfortable listening posture. Once he understood this, his anxiety disappeared and his confidence returned. His communication improved because he stopped reacting to incorrect assumptions. This example shows the power of observation. When we observe with patience, we replace guesswork with understanding. The observer within us begins collecting information quietly and guiding our responses wisely. Observation begins with awareness of three simple elements: facial expressions, body posture, and tone of voice. These elements reveal emotions, even when words try to hide them. Human beings naturally express their feelings through the body. Sometimes people attempt to control their expressions, but small signals still escape through gestures, movement, and voice. Facial expressions are especially powerful because they reflect emotional reactions quickly. When someone is happy, the eyes become brighter and the cheeks lift. When someone is worried, the eyebrows pull together and the forehead tightens. Even a small change in expression can reveal uncertainty, curiosity, excitement, or frustration. Consider another example. A teacher named Sana noticed that one of her students rarely participated in class discussions. Whenever she asked the student a question, he would look down and remain silent. At first, Sana believed the student simply lacked interest in learning. But when she began observing more carefully, she noticed something different. Whenever the student looked down, his hands tightened slightly and his shoulders moved inward. These signals suggested nervousness rather than disinterest. Sana realized the student was afraid of giving the wrong answer. Instead of forcing him to speak in front of the entire class, she began encouraging him quietly during smaller group discussions. Gradually, his confidence grew, and eventually he began answering questions in front of everyone. If Sana had continued assuming laziness, she might have discouraged the student further. But because she activated her inner observer, she recognized the true emotion behind his behavior and responded with empathy. Observation also includes paying attention to posture and movement. The human body constantly communicates through subtle physical signals. Someone leaning forward during a conversation usually shows interest and engagement. Someone leaning away may feel uncomfortable, uncertain, or defensive. Hands also reveal emotional states. Relaxed hands often indicate comfort, while tightly clasped hands may suggest tension or worry. Rapid foot movement can signal impatience or nervous energy. Even breathing patterns can reveal emotional intensity. A skilled observer does not jump to conclusions based on a single signal. Instead, they observe patterns over time. They combine facial expressions, posture, tone, and situation to form a balanced understanding. Tone of voice is another powerful indicator of emotion. Words may remain the same, but tone can completely change their meaning. A simple phrase like, "I understand," can express support, sarcasm, frustration, or kindness, depending on the tone used. Imagine a conversation between two friends. One friend says everything is fine, but the voice is quiet, slow, and lacking energy. An attentive observer immediately senses that something is not truly fine. The tone carries hidden emotion that the words attempt to conceal. Learning to hear these subtle differences allows you to respond more thoughtfully. Instead of accepting the surface message, you gently explore the deeper feeling. Observation also requires patience. Many misunderstandings occur because people react too quickly. They hear one sentence or notice one gesture and immediately form an opinion. But true understanding grows from calm observation over time. Think of a doctor examining a patient. The doctor does not make a diagnosis after one quick glance. Instead, the doctor observes symptoms, asks questions, and studies patterns. Only then does the doctor form a conclusion. In the same way, A person who wants to read people effectively must gather information patiently. Each interaction provides clues. Each conversation reveals small details that contribute to a larger picture. One helpful practice for developing observation is mindful attention during everyday interactions. When speaking with someone, focus fully on the moment. Notice how their eyes move. Notice the rhythm of their speech. Notice how their posture changes during different parts of the conversation. You might observe someone becoming more energetic while describing an exciting project, or becoming quieter while discussing a difficult experience. These changes reveal emotional priorities and concerns. Another exercise involves observing public environments such as cafes, parks, or waiting rooms. Watch how people interact with each other. Notice the difference between relaxed conversations and tense discussions. Notice how friends greet each other compared to strangers meeting for the first time. Through these simple observations, your mind begins building a library of human behavior patterns. Over time, your intuition becomes sharper and your understanding grows naturally. Awakening the observer within you also improves self-awareness. When you observe others carefully, you begin noticing your own expressions, gestures, and reactions. You become more conscious of how your behavior influences people around you. For example, you may realize that crossing your arms during discussions makes others feel that you are closed or defensive. You may notice that maintaining eye contact encourages trust and openness. This awareness allows you to adjust your own behavior to create more positive communication. Another important part of observation is emotional neutrality. This means observing without immediately labeling someone as good, bad, right, or wrong. Judgment blocks understanding because it narrows perception. When the mind judges quickly, it stops observing deeply. A professional communicator learns to watch calmly and gather information before forming opinions. This approach creates space for empathy and balanced responses. Imagine a manager dealing with an employee who frequently arrives late. A quick judgment might label the employee as irresponsible, but a careful observer might notice exhaustion, worry, or distraction in the employee's behavior. By asking respectful questions, the manager might discover that the employee has been caring for a sick family member. Every morning observation opens the door to understanding, while judgment closes it. The observer within you grows stronger every time you pause before reacting. Every moment of mindful attention strengthens your ability to read people accurately. Over time, this ability becomes natural and effortless. You begin noticing emotional shifts instantly. You recognize discomfort, curiosity, excitement, or hesitation within seconds. This awareness allows you to adjust your communication in ways that build trust and reduce conflict. In professional environments, this skill becomes extremely valuable. Leaders who observe carefully understand team dynamics more clearly. They notice when employees feel motivated or discouraged. They recognize hidden tensions before conflicts grow. Larger in personal relationships, observation strengthens emotional connection. When you notice subtle changes in your friends or family members, you respond with greater empathy and care. Small gestures of understanding create deeper bonds of trust. Journey of learning to read people begins with this simple but powerful transformation, moving from automatic reaction toward conscious observation. Once the observer within you awakens, the world of human interaction becomes clearer, richer, and more meaningful. From this point forward, every conversation becomes an opportunity to learn. Every interaction becomes a lesson in understanding human nature, and every response you give becomes more thoughtful, more effective, and more professional. This is the foundation of mastering people skills. Before influence, before persuasion, before powerful communication, comes observation, the quiet ability to see clearly, understand deeply, and respond wisely. When you awaken the observer within you, you begin the true journey of learning to read people and respond like a professional communicator who understands not only words, but the emotions and intentions that live beneath them. Chapter 2. Understanding the language Beyond words, human communication is far deeper than spoken language. Words may deliver information, yet emotions, intentions, and true feelings are often expressed through signals that never become sentences. When people learn to recognize these signals, they gain access to a powerful form of understanding that transforms every interaction. Most individuals believe communication is mainly about speaking clearly or choosing the right words. In reality, much of human connection happens through silent expression. The body, the face, the eyes, the rhythm of movement, and the tone of voice together create a language that speaks continuously, even when the mouth is silent. This silent language surrounds us in every conversation, yet many people fail to notice it. They focus only on what is said and ignore what is shown. But the moment someone begins observing beyond words, they begin to understand people on a deeper level. Imagine a situation in a workplace where two colleagues are discussing a new project. One colleague says the idea sounds good, yet while speaking the person avoids eye contact and slowly leans away from the table. The words suggest agreement, but the body reveals hesitation. An attentive observer quickly recognizes that the agreement may not be genuine. Understanding this silent language allows you to respond wisely. Instead of assuming full support, you may gently ask for honest thoughts or encourage the person to share concerns. This approach creates open communication rather than hidden disagreement. Body language is one of the strongest elements of communication. The human body constantly reflects emotional states without conscious effort. When someone feels confident, the posture becomes open and upright. When someone feels uncomfortable, the shoulders may tighten and the body may shrink inward. These signals are rarely deliberate. They appear naturally because emotions influence physical behavior. This is why learning to read body language gives you a window into the emotional world of others. Consider a simple example involving a university student named Aisha. She often participated in group discussions with classmates. When one particular student spoke, Aisha noticed something interesting. The student always smiled and agreed with others, yet the hands remained tightly clasped and the shoulders appeared tense. At first, the group believed the student was simply quiet and cooperative, but Aisha paid attention to the tension in posture and realized that the student might be holding back opinions. During one discussion, Aisha encouraged the student by saying, "Your thoughts seem thoughtful. I would really like to hear your perspective." This invitation allowed the student to relax and share ideas that the group had never heard before. The entire group benefited from this simple moment of observation because someone noticed the silent language hidden beneath polite words. Facial expressions are another powerful part of nonverbal communication. The human face contains many muscles capable of expressing a wide range of emotions. Even small movements around the eyes or mouth can reveal feelings that words attempt to hide. A genuine smile, for example, involves both the mouth and the eyes. When someone truly feels happy, the eyes narrow slightly and small lines appear at the corners. When a smile is forced, the mouth moves, but the eyes remain unchanged. Learning to notice these differences helps you recognize authentic emotions. It prevents misunderstanding and allows you to respond appropriately. Imagine a customer service representative named Bilal who interacts with many clients each day. One afternoon, a customer approaches the counter with a polite smile and calm voice. The customer says everything is fine, yet Bilal notices the eyebrows slightly pulled together and the lips pressing tightly between sentences. These small signals suggest that the customer may actually be frustrated, but trying to remain polite instead of quickly finishing the transaction. Bilal calmly asks if there is anything that could be improved in the service. The customer then explains a problem that had been bothering them for several days. Because Bilal noticed the subtle facial tension, he was able to address the issue before it grew into a larger complaint. Tone of voice is another powerful communicator of emotion. The same sentence can carry completely different meanings depending on how it is spoken. Speed, pitch, volume, and rhythm all reveal emotional energy. A calm, steady voice often indicates confidence or comfort. A fast, restless tone may signal excitement or anxiety. A slow, quiet tone may reflect sadness, uncertainty, or exhaustion. Consider a conversation between two friends. One friend says, "I am happy for you," but the voice sounds flat and heavy. An attentive listener may realize that the friend is struggling internally, perhaps feeling disappointed about something personal. Recognizing this emotional signal allows the listener to respond with compassion rather than simply accepting the surface statements solicit. Self also communicates powerful messages. When someone pauses before answering a question, the silence may reveal hesitation, uncertainty, or careful thinking in many cultures. Silence carries emotional meaning that words cannot fully express. For example, a young employee named Farhan once presented a proposal to his supervisor. After the presentation, the supervisor remained silent for several seconds. Farhan immediately felt nervous because he assumed the silence meant disapproval. However, the supervisor was actually reflecting deeply on the proposal and considering its possibilities. When the supervisor finally spoke, the response was thoughtful and positive. This situation teaches an important lesson. Silence should not always be interpreted as negativity. Sometimes, silence represents thinking, respect, or emotional processing. Another element of nonverbal communication involves physical distance and personal space. People naturally adjust distance depending on their comfort level and relationship with others. Close distance often signals trust, familiarity, or emotional warmth. Increased distance may indicate formality, discomfort, or the need for personal boundaries. For instance, during a friendly conversation, people often stand closer and maintain relaxed body orientation. But during a tense discussion, individuals may lean away, create physical barriers, or turn slightly aside. These small adjustments reveal emotional shifts in the interaction. Observing them allows you to adjust your communication style to maintain comfort and respect. Eye contact is also one of the strongest forms of silent communication. Balanced eye contact creates connection and trust. It shows attentiveness and respect. Too little eye contact may signal insecurity, distraction, or discomfort, while intense staring may create pressure or intimidation. Skilled communicators maintain natural, comfortable eye contact while allowing occasional breaks that keep the interaction relaxed. A teacher named Nadia once noticed that one of her students avoided eye contact during presentations. Instead of assuming dishonesty or disinterest, she understood that the student might simply feel nervous speaking in front of others. She encouraged the student to practice presentations in smaller groups first. Over time, the student's confidence improved and eye contact became more natural. This example shows how observation combined with understanding leads to supportive responses rather than unfair judgments. Understanding communication beyond words also requires awareness of context. A single gesture may have different meanings depending on the situation, culture, and individual personality. Crossed arms, for example, might signal defensiveness in one situation, but simple comfort in another. A person sitting in a cold room may cross arms to stay warm rather than express disagreement. This is why skilled observers avoid making quick conclusions based on one signal alone. They observe clusters of signals together, along with the situation surrounding them. For instance, if someone crosses arms while also leaning away, avoiding eye contact, and speaking with tension, then these combined signals suggest discomfort or resistance. But if someone crosses arms while smiling and maintaining relaxed conversation, the meaning is completely different. Observation, therefore, becomes a process of gathering multiple clues rather than reacting to isolated gestures. Learning the language beyond words also improves your ability to respond effectively. When you understand how someone feels, you can adapt your communication style accordingly. If you notice someone feeling nervous, you may respond with encouragement and patience. If you notice excitement, you may match their energy and enthusiasm. If you sense frustration, you may slow the conversation and focus on listening. This flexibility creates smoother interactions and stronger relationships because people feel understood rather than misunderstood. Another advantage of reading nonverbal communication is conflict prevention. Many disagreements escalate because individuals ignore early emotional signals. When tension appears in posture, tone, or facial expression, a skilled communicator notices these signs and addresses them before the situation grows worse. For example, during a team discussion, one member may begin speaking more sharply while shifting impatiently in the chair. An attentive leader recognizes this rising frustration and invites the person to share concerns calmly by addressing the emotional signal. Early, the leader prevents a larger conflict from developing. Understanding silent communication also builds trust. When people feel that someone truly notices and understands them, they become more open and cooperative. Trust grows because they feel seen beyond surface conversation. Over time, this ability becomes a natural instinct. The mind begins recognizing emotional signals quickly and accurately. Conversations feel more meaningful because communication becomes complete, not limited to words. Alone, this chapter reveals an important truth. Human communication is a rich combination of spoken language and silent expression. When you learn to observe the signals beyond words, you gain deeper insight into emotions, intentions, and needs. As you continue practicing this awareness, your interactions will become smoother, more empathetic, and more effective. You will notice feelings that others overlook and respond in ways that strengthen connection. This skill forms the next step in mastering the art of reading people. Once you understand the language beyond words, you move closer to responding like a true professional communicator who sees not only what is said, but also what is silently expressed within every human interaction. Chapter 3. The power of empathy and response. Learning to read people is only the first step. The true mastery appears when you know how to respond. Empathy is the bridge that connects observation with meaningful action. It allows you to respond in a way that respects emotions, understands struggles, and builds trust between people. Empathy means stepping into another person's emotional world and recognizing what they might be feeling. It does not mean losing your own perspective. It simply means understanding before reacting. When people feel understood, they relax, they become open, and they communicate more honestly. Many conflicts in life do not happen because people disagree. They happen because people feel ignored, misunderstood, or judged. When someone speaks and the other person immediately argues, the conversation becomes defensive. But when someone feels that their emotions are acknowledged, the conversation becomes calmer and more constructive. Imagine a young manager named Ali who had recently started leading a small team. One of his employees, named Imran, had begun missing deadlines and arriving late to meetings. Ali initially felt frustrated because he believed Imran was becoming careless. Instead of confronting him with anger, Ali decided to observe and approach the situation with empathy. During a private conversation, he noticed that Imran looked tired and distracted. His voice sounded slower than usual, and his posture appeared heavy. Rather than criticizing, Ali calmly asked everything was all right, and whether something outside work might be affecting his schedule. Imran hesitated for a moment, then explained that his father had been seriously ill, and he had been spending most nights at the hospital. At that moment, Ali understood that the problem was not laziness, but emotional stress. Because he responded with empathy instead of judgment, Imran felt respected and supported. They arranged a temporary adjustment in workload until the situation improved. This experience strengthened trust between them, and Imran later became one of the most dedicated members of the team. Empathy begins with listening. Listening is often misunderstood. Many people believe listening means waiting quietly until their turn to speak. True listening means focusing completely on the other person without preparing your response while they are talking. When someone feels deeply heard, They naturally open up. They share thoughts that they might normally hide. This openness creates stronger relationships both professionally and personally. Consider another example involving two friends named Sarah and Hina. Sarah had been preparing for an important interview, but unfortunately, she did not get the job. When she met Hina later that evening, she began explaining her disappointment. If Hina had responded quickly by saying, "Do not worry, there will be other opportunities," the response might sound positive, but it would not fully acknowledge Sarah's feelings. Sarah might feel that her disappointment was being minimized. Instead, Hina listened carefully and said, "It sounds like you really wanted this opportunity, and it must feel frustrating after all the effort you put into preparing." This simple response showed understanding and emotional recognition. Sarah immediately felt comforted because someone truly acknowledged her feelings. Only after this moment of empathy did the conversation move toward encouragement and future possibilities. Empathy also involves recognizing emotions that people do not clearly express. Sometimes individuals struggle to explain what they feel. They may hide sadness behind humor or hide anxiety behind silence. A thoughtful observer notices subtle signals and responds gently. For example, a colleague may repeatedly say, "Everything is fine," while showing signs of stress through tense posture and distracted behavior. Instead of challenging them directly, you might say, "You seem a little overwhelmed today. If you ever want to talk, I am here." This approach creates a safe space without pressure. Another powerful part of empathy is emotional validation. Validation means recognizing that another person's feelings are real and important, even if you do not fully agree with their perspective. For instance, imagine two siblings arguing about a family decision. One sibling feels upset about a change while the other believes the change is necessary. If the second sibling says your feelings are unreasonable, the conflict will grow stronger. But if the response becomes, "I understand why this change feels difficult for you, even though I see the situation differently," then the emotional tension begins to soften. Validation does not require agreement. It simply recognizes that emotions deserve respect. Empathy also improves leadership. Leaders who practice empathy create stronger teams because employees feel valued rather than controlled. When team members believe their voices matter, they become more motivated and cooperative. A good example comes from a school principal named Nadia, who once noticed tension between two teachers. One teacher felt overwhelmed with workload, while the other believed responsibilities were unfairly distributed. Instead of immediately deciding who was right, Nadia invited both teachers to share their experiences. She listened carefully to each perspective and acknowledged the emotions behind their concerns. By validating both viewpoints, she created an atmosphere of understanding. Then, together they developed a balanced solution that satisfied both sides. The conflict disappeared, not because someone was forced to accept defeat, but because empathy allowed everyone to feel respected. Empathy also strengthens personal relationships. In families, friendships, and partnerships, emotional understanding forms the foundation of trust. When people feel safe expressing their emotions, they develop deeper connections. Consider a father named Kareem, who noticed that his teenage son had become quiet and distant. Instead of assuming rebellion or laziness, Kareem approached him gently one evening and asked how things were going at school. At first, the son gave short answers, but Kareem continued listening patiently, without judgment. Eventually, the son admitted that he had been struggling with pressure from classmates and felt uncertain about his future. Because Kareem responded with empathy rather than criticism, his son felt comfortable sharing his worries. This conversation created a moment of bonding that strengthened their relationship. Empathy also helps manage difficult conversations. In professional environments, disagreements and criticism are sometimes unavoidable. However, empathy allows these conversations to remain respectful and productive. Imagine a supervisor giving feedback to an employee whose recent work contains several mistakes. If the supervisor begins by accusing the employee of carelessness, the employee may become defensive. But if the supervisor begins with understanding by saying, "I know you have been handling many responsibilities recently, and I appreciate your effort," then the employee feels recognized rather than attacked. After establishing this respectful tone, the supervisor can discuss improvements more effectively. Another important aspect of empathy is emotional control. Responding with empathy requires managing your own emotions first. When people feel angry or defensive, they often lose the ability to understand others. Developing emotional awareness helps you pause before reacting. During challenging conversations, take a moment to breathe and observe your own feelings. This pause allows the rational mind to guide the response rather than impulsive emotion. For example, during a heated discussion, one person may raise their voice. If you respond with equal intensity, the conflict quickly escalates. But if you remain calm and acknowledge their frustration, situation often cools down. A calm, empathetic response might sound like, "I can see that this situation is really frustrating for you. Let's talk through it together." This approach reduces tension and encourages cooperation. Empathy also builds influence. People naturally trust those who understand them. When someone consistently shows empathy, others become more open to advice, suggestions, and leadership. Influence does not come from authority alone. It grows from connection. When individuals feel emotionally understood, they become more willing to collaborate and support shared goals. Developing empathy requires practice. Just like observation, empathy grows stronger. Through conscious effort, begin by paying attention to the emotions behind conversations. Ask yourself what this person might be feeling and why. Listen without interrupting. Allow pauses in conversation. Give people space to express their thoughts fully. When responding, acknowledge emotions before offering solutions. Over time, this practice becomes natural. You begin recognizing emotional needs quickly and responding in ways that strengthen relationships. Empathy transforms communication because it replaces reaction with understanding. It turns disagreements into discussions and strangers into trusted connections. The ability to read people reveals emotional signals, but empathy teaches you how to honor those signals with thoughtful responses. Together, these skills create a powerful foundation for meaningful communication. As you continue developing your awareness and empathy, you move closer to mastering the art of responding like a professional communicator who not only understands people but also supports them through understanding, respect, and genuine human connection. Chapter 4. Recognizing emotional patterns in people. Once you begin observing people and responding with empathy, another powerful skill begins to develop. You start recognizing emotional patterns. Human beings often behave in consistent ways when experiencing certain emotions. When you learn to notice these patterns, you can understand people more quickly and respond with confidence and clarity. Every person carries emotional habits shaped by personality, experiences, and environment. Some people express excitement loudly, with energetic movement and animated speech. Others show happiness quietly, through calm smiles and relaxed posture. In the same way, stress, frustration, confidence, and fear each create recognizable patterns in behavior. Learning to read these patterns allows you to understand what someone may be feeling, even before they clearly express it. Imagine a small business owner named Rahim, who interacted with many customers every day. Over time, Rahim noticed that different customers displayed different emotional patterns when entering his store. Some walked in with relaxed shoulders and curious eyes, looking around with interest. Others entered quickly with tight posture and short movements, showing impatience. Observing these patterns, Rahim adjusted his responses. When he saw relaxed curiosity, he greeted the customer warmly and allowed them space to explore. When he noticed impatience, he offered quick assistance and direct information. Because Rahim recognized emotional patterns, his communication felt natural and effective. Customers felt comfortable and respected, which helped his business grow. Recognizing patterns begins with paying attention to repeated behaviors. People often react in similar ways when experiencing the same emotional state. For example, a person who feels nervous may repeatedly touch their face, shift their weight, or avoid eye contact. A person who feels confident may maintain steady posture, speak clearly, and make comfortable eye contact. Over time, these signals become familiar and easy to recognize. Consider a university professor named Dr. Hassan, who taught large classes of students. During lectures, he noticed that certain students displayed clear patterns of engagement. When students were interested, they leaned slightly forward and focused their eyes on the discussion. When attention faded, some students began looking around the room, tapping pens or checking their phones instead of continuing the lecture in the same style. Dr. Hassan used this observation to adjust his teaching. Whenever he noticed declining attention, he introduced a question or interactive activity to restore engagement. His ability to recognize emotional patterns helped maintain energy in the classroom and improved student learning. Another important emotional pattern involves stress. Stress often appears through physical tension and mental distraction. People under stress may speak faster, forget small details, or show restless movement. Their shoulders may tighten and breathing may become shallow. Imagine a team leader named Farah preparing her group for an important presentation. One team member named Edel usually spoke confidently during meetings, but on the day of the presentation, Farah noticed several changes. Edel avoided eye contact. His voice sounded rushed, and he repeatedly adjusted papers on the table. These signals revealed nervousness, even though Adil said he was ready. Recognizing this pattern, Farah took a moment before the presentation to encourage him. She reminded him of the strong work he had done and allowed him a few minutes to relax and organize his thoughts. As a result, Adil regained confidence and delivered a successful presentation. Without recognizing these emotional signals, Farah might have assumed everything was fine, and the stress could have affected the performance. Emotional patterns also appear in moments of frustration. When people feel frustrated, their body language often becomes sharper. Movements may become quick, and speech may carry a stronger tone. Facial expressions may tighten, especially around the mouth and eyebrows. Understanding this pattern helps prevent unnecessary conflict. For example, a customer named Salman once visited a service center after experiencing repeated problems with a product. The employee assisting him, named Yasser, quickly noticed that Salman placed his bag heavily on the counter and spoke with short, direct sentences. These signals indicated frustration. Instead of responding defensively, Yasser calmly acknowledged the inconvenience and focused on solving the problem. This response immediately reduced tension. Because Salman felt that his frustration was understood, the conversation remained respectful, and the issue was resolved smoothly. Another pattern appears when people feel excited or passionate. Their energy becomes more expressive. They may speak faster, smile frequently, and use larger gestures. Their eyes often appear brighter, and their voice carries enthusiasm. Recognizing excitement helps you match the energy of the conversation, which strengthens connection. Imagine two colleagues discussing a new creative project. One colleague begins describing an idea with animated gestures and enthusiastic voice. If the listener responds with equal interest, the conversation grows lively and collaborative. If the listener responds with indifference, the enthusiasm may quickly fade. Matching positive emotional patterns encourages creativity and motivation in professional environments. Patterns also appear in moments of uncertainty. When people feel unsure, they often hesitate before speaking. They may ask repeated questions or look toward others for confirmation. Their posture may shift as they search for reassurance. A teacher named Samina once noticed this pattern during group assignments. One student repeatedly glanced at classmates before answering questions and spoke in a very quiet tone. Recognizing this uncertainty, Samina provided gentle encouragement and praised the student's contributions. Over time, the student became more confident and participated more. Actively understanding emotional patterns allows you to support people according to their needs. Another valuable skill is recognizing personal patterns unique to individuals. Every person has habits of expression that repeat over time. Some people smile when they feel uncomfortable, while others become quiet when they feel upset. When you interact with someone regularly, you begin learning their personal communication style. For instance, a manager named Khalid worked with a colleague named Zain, who always became silent during disagreements. At first, Khaled believed Zain was simply agreeing with others, but after careful observation, Khaled realized that silence was actually Zain's way of processing thoughts when given time to reflect. Zain often returned later with thoughtful suggestions. By recognizing this personal pattern, Khaled stopped pressuring Zain for immediate responses and instead allowed space for reflection. This improved teamwork and communication between them. Recognizing emotional patterns also helps you manage your own reactions. When you understand that certain behaviors reflect emotional states rather than personal attacks, you respond more calmly. For example, if someone speaks sharply during a stressful moment, recognizing the pattern of stress prevents you from taking the comment personally. Instead of reacting defensively, you may respond with patience and understanding. This emotional awareness strengthens professionalism and emotional intelligence. Developing the skill requires curiosity and attention. Begin noticing how different emotions influence behavior. Observe how people move, speak, and express themselves during different situations. Over time, you will see that human behavior often follows predictable rhythms. Fear creates hesitation, excitement creates energy, frustration creates tension, and confidence creates openness. However, it is important to remember that patterns provide clues, not final judgments. People are complex, and context always matters. Observing patterns should guide understanding rather than create rigid assumptions. The goal is awareness, not labeling. As you continue practicing observation, empathy, and pattern recognition, your understanding of human behavior becomes deeper and more accurate. Conversations feel smoother because you sense emotional shifts early and respond wisely. This ability transforms everyday interactions into opportunities for connection, leadership, and influence. Recognizing emotional patterns is like learning the rhythm of human behavior. Once you understand the rhythm, you can move with it, adapt to it, and communicate with greater skill and confidence. Each new observation, your ability to read people grows stronger, bringing you closer to mastering the art of responding like a professional who understands not only what people say, but also the emotional patterns that guide their actions and decisions. Chapter 5. Mastering the art of active listening. Reading people does not depend only on observation of body language or emotional patterns. One of the most powerful skills that completes this ability is active listening. Many people believe they listen well, but in reality, they only hear words while their mind prepares a response. True listening is deeper. It requires attention, patience, and genuine interest in understanding another person. Active listening means giving your full presence to the person speaking. Your mind is not wandering toward other thoughts. Your attention is not divided by distractions. Instead, you are focused completely on the speaker, their words, their tone, and the emotions behind their message. People feel truly heard. Something remarkable happens. Their guard lowers. Their voice becomes more honest. Their thoughts become clearer. They feel respected and valued. This creates stronger connections and more meaningful conversations. Imagine a young employee named Usman who recently joined a large company. He had many creative ideas, but often felt that his suggestions were ignored. During meetings, he tried to share his thoughts, yet the conversation moved quickly, and nobody seemed to listen carefully. A senior colleague named Nadia noticed this pattern. During the next meeting, when Usman began speaking, Nadia gave him her full attention. She looked at him directly, listened quietly, and allowed him to finish without interruption. After he explained his idea, Nadia summarized his points and asked, thoughtful question about how the idea could improve the project. For the first time, Usman felt that someone truly understood his thoughts. His confidence increased, and the entire team benefited from his creativity. This small moment demonstrates the power of active listening. When someone listens carefully, they unlock ideas, emotions, and insights that might otherwise remain hidden. Conversations fail because people interrupt too quickly. They begin forming responses before the speaker has finished talking. This habit creates misunderstandings because the listener reacts to incomplete information. Active listening requires patience. It means allowing the speaker to complete their thoughts fully, even if there are pauses, moments of reflection or hesitation. Consider a conversation between two friends named Amir and Bilal. Amir had recently faced difficulties in his business and wanted to share his experience with Bilal. If Bilal immediately began offering advice without listening carefully, Amir might feel dismissed. But if Bilal listened attentively, allowed Amir to explain the situation, and then responded thoughtfully, the conversation would become supportive and meaningful. Often people do not need immediate solutions. They need understanding first. Another important part of active listening is observing emotional signals while someone speaks. Words carry information, but tone, facial expression, and body language reveal feelings. A skilled listener notices these signals and interprets the emotional message behind the words. For example, someone may say the project is going fine, but their voice may sound tired and their shoulders may appear tense. These signals suggest that the situation might actually be stressful. An active listener might respond by saying, "It sounds like you have been putting a lot of effort into this project. How are you feeling about it?" This response invites deeper conversation and shows genuine concern. Active listening also involves reflecting what the speaker has said. Reflection means repeating or summarizing the main idea in your own words. This technique shows that you are paying attention and helps confirm that you understood correctly. For example, during a discussion, a colleague might say, "I feel overwhelmed by the number of tasks assigned this week." Active listener might respond by saying, "It sounds like the workload has become difficult to manage this week." This reflection demonstrates understanding and encourages the speaker to continue explaining their thoughts. Reflection also prevents misunderstandings because it allows the speaker to clarify if something was interpreted incorrectly. Another valuable aspect of active listening is asking thoughtful questions. Questions show curiosity and encourage deeper conversation. Instead of asking questions that lead to simple yes or no answers, active listeners ask open questions that invite explanation. For example, instead of asking, "Did you like the presentation?" you might ask, "What part of the presentation interested you the most?" This type of question encourages discussion and reveals more about the speakers perspective. Active listening also requires emotional presence. This means showing empathy through your responses. When someone shares a personal challenge, your reaction should reflect care and understanding. Imagine a student named Sarah who tells her teacher that she feels nervous about an upcoming exam. A teacher practicing active listening might respond by acknowledging the feeling and offering support. The teacher might say, "It is natural to feel nervous before an important exam, but your preparation will help you succeed." This response combines understanding with encouragement. Body language also plays a role in active listening. Simple actions such as maintaining comfortable eye contact, nodding gently, and facing the speaker show attentiveness. These signals reassure the speaker that their message is important. In contrast, distractions such as checking a phone, looking around the room, or interrupting frequently send the message that the conversation is not valued. Imagine a manager speaking with an employee about career goals. If the manager appears distracted, the employee may hesitate to share honest thoughts. But if the manager listens attentively and shows interest, the conversation becomes more productive and inspiring. Active listening also improves conflict resolution. During disagreements, emotions often become intense, and communication breaks down because each person tries to defend their position. A person practicing active listening slows the conversation and focuses on understanding the other perspective first. 4. Example during a disagreement between two coworkers. One person might say, "I feel that my ideas are never considered during meetings," instead of responding defensively. The listener might say, "You feel that your contributions are not being recognized during discussions." This response acknowledges the feeling and creates space for constructive dialogue. Once emotions are recognized, solutions become easier to find. Active listening is also essential in leadership. Leaders who listen carefully understand the strengths, concerns, and motivations of their team members. This awareness helps them make better decisions and create supportive environments. Employees who feel heard are more engaged, motivated, and loyal because they believe their voice matters. Consider a company director named Imran, who regularly met with employees to discuss ideas and concerns. During these meetings, Imran practiced active listening by giving full attention, asking thoughtful questions, and reflecting on the points shared. Over time, employees began offering creative suggestions and honest feedback because they trusted that their opinions would be respected. This open communication helped the organization grow and innovate. Active listening also strengthens personal relationships. In friendships, families, and partnerships, listening creates emotional closeness. People feel valued when someone genuinely cares about their thoughts and experiences. For example, a child sharing stories about school with a parent feels encouraged when the parent listens attentively rather than responding with distraction or impatience. These moments build trust and strengthen bonds that last for years. Developing active listening requires practice. Begin by becoming aware of your listening habits. Notice whether your mind often wanders during conversations. Notice whether you interrupt frequently or rush to give advice. Once you recognize these habits, you can begin improving them. Practice focusing completely on the speaker. Put aside distractions. Maintain comfortable eye contact and observe emotional signals. Allow the speaker to finish before responding. Reflect on key points and ask thoughtful questions. Over time, these actions become natural and conversations become richer, more meaningful, and more productive. Active listening transforms communication because it shifts the focus from speaking to understanding. When people feel understood, they respond with openness, honesty, and trust. This skill works together with observation, empathy, and emotional awareness to create powerful interpersonal ability. As you continue developing these skills, you move closer to mastering the art of reading people and responding like a true professional who listens not only to words, but also to the emotions, intentions, and deeper meanings behind every conversation. Chapter 6. Building instant rapport. With people, reading people and responding like a professional becomes much easier when you know how to create rapport. Rapport is the invisible connection that makes people feel comfortable with you. When rapport exists, conversations flow naturally, trust grows quickly, and cooperation becomes easier. Many successful leaders, negotiators, teachers, and entrepreneurs understand this principle. They know that before ideas can influence someone, a sense of comfort and connection must exist. When people feel relaxed around you, they listen more openly, share more honestly, and respond more positively. Rapport does not appear by accident. It develops through awareness, respect, and genuine interest in others. Imagine a sales consultant named Horace, who met many clients every day. Some meetings ended quickly, while others turned into long, productive conversations. Horace began noticing that successful meetings always started with a small moment of connection. When clients entered his office, Horace greeted them warmly, maintained friendly eye contact, and asked simple questions about their needs. Instead of rushing into business, he allowed a few moments for natural conversation. During one meeting, a client named Cameron arrived looking serious and quiet. Instead of immediately presenting products, Horace noticed Cameron's tired expression and asked if the day had been busy. Cameron smiled slightly and explained that he had been dealing with several stressful tasks earlier that morning. This brief moment of understanding changed the tone of the conversation. Cameron relaxed, and the discussion became comfortable and cooperative. This example shows that rapport often begins with simple human connection. One powerful way to build rapport is through genuine interest. People naturally respond positively when they feel that someone truly cares about their thoughts and experiences. Asking thoughtful questions about their perspective shows respect and curiosity. For example, during a networking event, two professionals named Adil and Samir began talking. Instead of speaking only about his achievements, Adil asked Samir about his work experiences and what inspired him to choose his career. Because Samir felt heard and valued the conversation quickly became engaging. Both individuals left the meeting with a strong professional connection. Another important part of rapport involves matching communication style. Human beings naturally feel comfortable with people who share similar rhythms of communication. This does not mean copying someone in an artificial way. It simply means adjusting your style slightly to match their energy, tone, and pace. For example, if someone speaks calmly and thoughtfully, responding in a calm, steady tone creates harmony. If someone speaks enthusiastically, responding with similar enthusiasm creates excitement in the conversation. Imagine a teacher named Nyla who noticed that some students were energetic while others were more reserved. When speaking with energetic students, she allowed lively discussion and expressive communication. When speaking with quieter students, she used a calmer tone and gave them more time to respond. Because she adapted her communication style, each student felt comfortable interacting with her. Another element of rapport involves positive body language. Simple signals such as relaxed posture, gentle nodding, and natural eye contact show openness and friendliness. Your body language communicates warmth. People subconsciously feel safe and welcomed. Consider a job interview situation where a candidate named Saad meets a company manager. If the manager appears distant or distracted, the candidate may feel nervous and guarded. But if the manager greets Saad with a relaxed smile and attentive posture, the atmosphere becomes supportive and confident. These small signals strongly influence how people perceive each other. Rapport also grows through shared experiences or common interests. Discovering similarities creates a sense of familiarity that strengthens connection. Two strangers meeting for the first time may quickly bond when they realize they attended the same university, enjoy the same hobby, or share similar professional goals. Imagine two travelers waiting at an airport who begin discussing their destinations. During the conversation, they discover that both enjoy photography. This shared interest leads to an enthusiastic exchange of travel stories and creative ideas. The discovery of common ground transformed a simple encounter into an enjoyable connection. Another powerful way to build rapport is through appreciation. Everyone appreciates recognition for effort, skill, or kindness. When appreciation is genuine, it strengthens relationships quickly. For example, a manager named Farhan once noticed a junior employee named Danish working late to complete an important report. Instead of ignoring the effort, Farhan thanked Danish for his dedication and explained how the report would benefit the team. This simple appreciation made Danish feel valued and motivated to continue contributing positively. However, rapport must always remain authentic. People can easily sense when friendliness is forced or insincere. Genuine curiosity, kindness, and respect create real connection, while artificial behavior often creates distrust. Therefore, building rapport requires honesty in your intention to understand and respect others. Listening also plays a central role in rapport. When people feel that their words are heard without interruption, they become more comfortable and open. Imagine a community leader named Rahima meeting residents to discuss neighborhood improvements. Instead of delivering long speeches, Rahima spent time listening carefully to the concerns and suggestions of each resident. Because people felt heard, they trusted her leadership and supported the development projects she proposed. Rapport also involves emotional awareness. Recognizing how someone feels during a conversation allows you to adjust your response appropriately. For example, if someone appears nervous, offering encouragement and patience helps them relax. If someone appears excited, responding with enthusiasm strengthens the shared energy. A good example comes from a conference where a young speaker named Ali prepared to present his research to a large audience. Before the presentation, he spoke with an experienced professor named Dr. Kareem Dr. Kareem noticed that Ali looked anxious and spoke quietly. Instead of discussing complex topics, Dr. Kareem offered encouraging words and shared a brief story about his own first presentation years earlier. This small moment of empathy created immediate rapport and helped Ali feel more confident. Rapport also helps during difficult conversations. When people trust each other, disagreements can be discussed respectfully because the foundation of connection already exists. For instance, two business partners named Omar and Faisal once disagreed strongly about expanding their company. Because they had built strong rapport over years of collaboration, they were able to discuss their different viewpoints calmly. Their respect for each other allowed them to find a balanced decision that benefited the company. Without rapport, the same disagreement might have damaged the partnership building. Rapport also improves leadership influence. Leaders who connect personally with their team members inspire loyalty and cooperation. Employees are more motivated when they feel respected as individuals rather than treated as simple workers. A company director named Saba made it a habit to speak briefly with employees during breaks, asking about their ideas, experiences, and goals. These short conversations created strong relationships throughout the organization. Employees trusted her leadership because they felt she genuinely cared about their well-being. Developing rapport requires consistent practice. Begin by approaching conversations with openness and curiosity. Pay attention to the emotional tone of the interaction and adapt your communication style accordingly. Offer appreciation when appropriate and search for common interests that create connection. Importantly, remain genuine. True rapport grows from sincere respect and understanding. When rapport exists, communication becomes smoother. People cooperate more willingly, share information more openly, and resolve problems more effectively. This skill works together with observation, empathy, listening, and emotional awareness to strengthen your ability to read people and respond like a professional. As you continue developing rapport-building skills, you will notice that new relationships form more easily, conversations feel more comfortable, and your influence grows naturally. Rapport transforms interactions because it replaces distance with connection. It creates an atmosphere where people feel safe, respected, and willing to communicate honestly. By mastering this ability, you move another step closer to becoming someone who not only understands people deeply, but also connects with them in a way that inspires trust, cooperation, and meaningful human relationships. Chapter 7. Understanding hidden intentions. When you learn to observe body language, recognize emotional patterns, listen actively, and build rapport, you begin to notice something even deeper in human communication: hidden intentions. Many times people do not directly say what they truly want or feel. Instead, their real purpose remains beneath the surface of their words. Understanding hidden intentions is one of the most powerful abilities in reading people. It allows you to recognize motivations, concerns, and goals that others may not openly express. When you develop this skill, your responses become more thoughtful and effective because you are addressing the true meaning behind the conversation. Human beings hide intentions for many reasons. Sometimes they fear rejection. Sometimes they want to appear polite. Sometimes they are unsure how to express their thoughts clearly. Because of these reasons, the words spoken in a conversation may only represent part of the message. Imagine a young professional named Hamid, who worked in a growing technology company. One afternoon, his colleague Rashid approached him and casually asked about the progress of a new project. At first, the conversation sounded simple, but Hamid noticed something interesting. Rashid kept asking small, detailed questions about deadlines, responsibilities, and management expectations. His tone sounded curious, yet his eyes showed concern. Hamid realized that Rashid was not only asking about the project, he was worried about how the project might affect his own workload, instead of answering only the technical questions. Hamid explained how tasks would be shared among team members and reassured Rashid that the responsibilities would remain balanced because Hamid recognized the hidden intention behind the questions. The conversation ended with clarity and relief. Examples shows that understanding intentions requires attention to both words and emotional signals. Another situation where hidden intentions appear is during negotiation. When people negotiate agreements, they often present requests that represent only part of their true goal. Consider a small business owner named Zafar, who was negotiating a partnership with another entrepreneur named Kamran. During the meeting, Kamran insisted strongly on adjusting the timeline of a joint project. At first, Zafar believed that Kamran simply wanted more time. However, through careful observation, Zafar noticed that Kamran repeatedly mentioned financial planning and resource management. This pattern suggested that the timeline request was connected to financial pressure. Instead of arguing about deadlines, Zafar shifted the conversation toward discussing budget planning and resource support. Together, they found a solution that addressed the real concern. The negotiation succeeded because Zafar focused on the intention behind the request rather than the request itself. Hidden intentions also appear in everyday social interactions. For example, someone may offer advice when their real intention is to express concern or show support. Imagine a university student named Sana, who often received advice from her older cousin about study habits and career planning. At first, Sana felt annoyed because she believed her cousin was criticizing her decisions. However, during one conversation, Sana noticed a gentle tone and caring expression in her cousin's voice. She realized that the advice came from genuine concern about her future. Once Sana understood the intention, the advice felt supportive rather than critical. This shift in perception improved their relationship and allowed them to communicate more openly. Understanding hidden intentions also helps you respond wisely during challenging conversations. Sometimes people express frustration indirectly through complaints or sarcasm. For example, a team member might say the meeting schedule is very interesting this week while speaking with a slightly tense voice. Words appear neutral, but the tone suggests dissatisfaction. A skilled communicator recognizes this hidden message and responds by inviting honest discussion. The response might sound like it seems. The schedule may be creating some difficulty for you. Would you like to discuss possible adjustments? Approach encourages open communication and prevents misunderstandings from growing into conflict. Another example comes from a teacher named Ahmed, who noticed that one of his students named Belal frequently asked questions about assignment deadlines. At first, the questions appeared repetitive, but Ahmed observed that Bilal looked worried whenever deadlines were mentioned. Instead of simply repeating the instructions, Ahmed asked Bilal privately if he was facing any difficulty managing his time. Bilal then explained that he was balancing schoolwork with part-time employment and sometimes struggled to complete assignments on time. By understanding the hidden intention behind the repeated questions, Ahmed was able to provide guidance and support that helped Bilal succeed. Recognizing hidden intentions also strengthens leadership skills. Leaders who understand motivations can guide teams more effectively. For instance, a company manager named Amina once noticed that an employee frequently volunteered for additional responsibilities. First, this behavior seemed enthusiastic, but Amina observed that the employee often looked toward senior leaders during meetings, as if seeking recognition. Amina realized that the employee's true intention was professional growth and visibility within. The organization, instead of assigning random tasks, Amina, offered opportunities for skill development and leadership training. The employee felt understood and became highly motivated to contribute to the company's hidden intentions are often revealed through repeated patterns in conversation. When someone returns to the same topic multiple times, it usually indicates deeper interest or concern. Paying attention to these patterns helps you identify what truly matters to the person. For example, during a discussion about a community project, one participant might repeatedly mention safety concerns, while others focus on budget or design. This repeated focus suggests that safety is the participant's primary intention, even if the conversation appears to cover many topics. Acknowledging this concern builds trust and shows respect for their perspective. Another helpful approach for understanding intentions is asking thoughtful questions. Questions allow people to clarify their thoughts and reveal deeper motivations. Instead of assuming meaning, you invite explanation. For instance, if someone suggests a sudden change in plans, you might ask what inspired this idea, or how do you see this change helping the project? These questions encourage honest dialogue and often reveal intentions that were not initially visible. However, it is important to approach these conversations with curiosity rather than suspicion. The goal is understanding, not interrogation. People respond positively when they feel respected rather than analyzed. Hidden intentions. Intentions also exist in positive situations. Sometimes people express modesty even when they hope for recognition. Imagine a colleague named Yasmin who completed an important report but spoke about it casually during a meeting. By observing her tone and subtle pride in her expression, a manager might recognize that she values acknowledgement. A simple statement appreciating her work strengthens motivation and confidence. Understanding intentions also protects you from manipulation. Occasionally, individuals may hide intentions to gain advantage in a situation. For example, someone might offer excessive praise while secretly expecting favors in return. A skilled observer notices inconsistencies between words and behavior and maintains clear boundaries while remaining respectful. Purpose of recognizing hidden intentions is not to judge others, but to understand them more clearly. When you understand motivations, your responses become balanced, thoughtful, and effective. You avoid reacting only to surface statements and instead address the deeper needs, concerns, and goals. Guiding the conversation. Developing this skill requires patience and curiosity. Pay attention to emotional signals, repeated topics, tone of voice, and context. Consider what might motivate someone to speak or act in a particular way. Over time, your awareness grows and your intuition becomes stronger. Conversations feel more meaningful because you are responding to the real message rather than only the spoken words. Understanding hidden intentions is like seeing beneath the surface of water. While others notice only the waves, you begin to recognize the currents. Moving underneath this deeper awareness strengthens relationships, improves leadership, and enhances communication in every area of life as you continue mastering observation, empathy, listening, rapport, and intention awareness. You move closer to becoming someone who reads people with clarity and responds with wisdom, confidence, and professionalism in every interaction. Chapter 8. Responding with confidence and emotional control. Reading people is only half of the journey. The real power appears in how you respond. Many individuals are able to notice emotions or behaviors in others, yet they still react impulsively. When situations become difficult, a professional communicator learns to respond with confidence and emotional control, even when conversations become tense or unpredictable. Emotional control does not mean suppressing feelings. It means understanding your emotions and guiding them wisely, instead of allowing anger, frustration, or fear to control your reaction. You pause, observe, and respond in a calm and thoughtful way. When people maintain emotional control, they become respected communicators. Others trust them because they know conversations will remain balanced and constructive even during disagreements. Imagine a young team leader named Danish, who was responsible for coordinating a group project. One afternoon during a meeting, two team members began arguing about how the project should be completed. Their voices became louder, and the discussion turned tense. Many leaders might react with frustration or attempt to silence the argument immediately. But Danish took a calm breath and observed both individuals carefully. He noticed that one member spoke quickly and passionately, while the other appeared defensive and quiet. Instead of criticizing either person, Danish calmly acknowledged both perspectives. He said that each idea seemed valuable and invited both individuals to explain their reasoning one at a time. By maintaining emotional control, Danish transformed a heated argument into a constructive conversation. The team eventually combined both ideas and created a stronger solution. This example shows how confident responses create stability during emotional moments. Confidence in communication does not come from speaking loudly or dominating conversations. True confidence appears through calm presence, clarity of thought, and respectful communication. People who respond with confidence listen carefully before speaking. They choose words thoughtfully and maintain steady body language. Their calm behavior often influences others to become calmer as well. Consider another situation involving a customer service representative named Heba. One day, an upset customer approached the service desk complaining about a delayed order. The customer spoke sharply and expressed frustration about the inconvenience. If Heba had reacted defensively, the conversation might have escalated into conflict. Instead, she remained calm, listened attentively, and acknowledged the customer's frustration. Her voice remained steady and respectful as she explained the situation and offered a solution. Because Heba maintained emotional control, the customer gradually relaxed and the conversation ended positively. Responding with confidence also requires awareness of your own emotional triggers. Everyone has situations that cause stress, irritation, or anxiety. These triggers may include criticism, disagreement, or pressure from deadlines. You become aware of these triggers, you gain the ability to manage them. For example, a professional named Kamal noticed that he often felt defensive whenever someone questioned his work. During meetings, he sometimes responded quickly without fully listening to the feedback. After reflecting on this habit, Kamal decided to practice emotional awareness. The next time a colleague questioned one of his ideas, he paused for a moment and focused on listening carefully. Instead of reacting defensively, he asked the colleague to explain their concern in more detail. This simple pause allowed Kamal to respond thoughtfully rather than emotionally. Discussion became productive, and the final project improved because of the shared feedback. Confidence also appears through clear communication. When people speak clearly and directly, others understand their message easily. This clarity reduces confusion and builds trust. For example, during a community meeting, a coordinator named Farida needed to explain new guidelines for a local project. Instead of speaking quickly or using complicated language, she explained the information calmly and step by step. She also invited questions and listened carefully to the concerns of the participants. Her confident and respectful communication helped everyone understand the plan and cooperate with the project. Another important element of confident responses is maintaining positive body language. Your posture, facial expression, and gestures influence how others perceive your message. Or sitting upright, maintaining comfortable eye contact, and speaking at a steady pace communicates confidence and professionalism. Imagine a job interview where a candidate named Bilal answers questions about his experience. If Bilal speaks with clear voice, relaxed posture, and steady eye contact, the interviewer naturally perceives him as confident and capable. But if he avoids eye contact and speaks with hesitation, the same answers may appear less convincing. Confidence is often communicated through nonverbal signals as much as through words. Responding with emotional control is especially important during Conflict disagreements are natural in professional and personal life. What matters most is how people handle them. Skilled communicator focuses on solving the problem rather than attacking the person. 4. Instance: two co-workers named Saif and Omar once disagreed strongly about how to complete a project task. Instead of raising their voices, Saif suggested taking a moment to review both ideas. Calmly, they discussed the advantages of each approach and eventually created a combined solution that worked better than either individual plan. Their emotional control allowed them to transform disagreement into collaboration. Confidence also involves knowing when to pause. Sometimes the most powerful response is not immediate speech, but thoughtful. Silence pausing allows emotions to settle and gives the mind time to choose the best response. For example, during a negotiation, a business owner named Tariq received an unexpected proposal from a potential partner. Instead of responding quickly, he paused and considered the offer carefully. After reflecting for a moment, he asked a few clarifying questions and then presented a balanced response. This thoughtful pause demonstrated professionalism and prevented a rushed decision. Responding with confidence also means respecting your own boundaries. While empathy and understanding are important, it is equally important to protect your values and limits. If someone speaks disrespectfully or attempts to pressure you into an uncomfortable decision, a calm but firm response maintains dignity and professionalism. For example, a consultant named Nadia once worked with a client who repeatedly requested unrealistic deadlines. Instead of agreeing out of fear of losing the client, Nadia explained the time required to maintain quality work. She spoke respectfully but clearly about the limits of what could be delivered. Because she communicated with confidence, the client eventually respected her professional standards. Another benefit of emotional control is that it strengthens leadership presence. People naturally follow individuals who remain calm and thoughtful during challenging situations. Who panic or react emotionally create uncertainty, while leaders who remain composed create stability and trust. Consider a school principal named Rehan, who once faced a difficult situation when a sudden technical problem disrupted an important school event. Instead of showing frustration, Rehan calmly organized teachers and staff to manage the situation. His composed behavior reassured everyone, and the event continued successfully. Responding with confidence and emotional control requires continuous practice. Begin by becoming aware of your emotional reactions during conversations. Notice when you feel tension, irritation, or anxiety. When these feelings appear, pause, take a breath, and focus on understanding the situation. Before responding, practice speaking calmly, clearly, and respectfully, even when discussions become intense. Over time, this habit becomes natural, and your presence during conversations becomes steady and reliable. Confidence grows through experience. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to practice thoughtful responses and emotional balance. As you develop this skill, people begin to trust your judgment and value your communication. They recognize that you respond with wisdom rather than impulse, and with clarity rather than confusion. Mastering emotional control completes an important step in learning to read people and respond like a professional. You are no longer guided only by observation, but also by disciplined and confident responses. With this ability, you become someone who can navigate complex conversations, resolve conflicts gracefully, and lead interactions with calm authority and understanding. Chapter 9. Handling difficult personalities with intelligence. As you continue learning how to read people and respond like a professional, you will eventually encounter individuals who are difficult to communicate with. Some people may be overly critical, others may become aggressive, while some may appear stubborn or negative. These personalities can make conversations stressful if you do not understand how to handle them wisely. However, difficult personalities are not obstacles that must be avoided. They are opportunities to apply the skills of observation, empathy, listening, and emotional control. When you understand the behavior patterns behind these personalities, you gain the ability to manage conversations calmly and effectively. Many times, people labeled as difficult are actually responding to pressure, insecurity, or past experiences. Their behavior may appear harsh, but often it is driven by emotions they do not know how to express properly. Imagine a workplace scenario involving a project manager named Imran who had a team member named Saeed was known for criticizing almost every idea presented during meetings. At first, the team felt frustrated and believed Saeed simply enjoyed opposing others. Instead of reacting with irritation, Imran decided to observe Saeed's behavior more carefully. He noticed that Saeed usually raised concerns about practical details such as budgets, timelines, and resources. Imran realized that Saeed's criticism came from a strong desire to avoid mistakes rather than a desire to create conflict. During the next meeting, when Saeed began questioning a new idea, Imran responded by inviting him to explain potential risks in detail. This allowed Saeed to contribute constructively instead of appearing negative. By understanding the intention behind Saeed's behavior, Imran transformed a difficult personality into a valuable source of insight. Another common personality type is the aggressive communicator. This person may raise their voice, interrupt frequently, or attempt to dominate conversations. Such behavior can intimidate others if not handled with confidence. Consider a business negotiation where a representative named Tariq faced an aggressive negotiator who spoke loudly and pressured him to accept unfavorable terms. Instead of matching the aggression, Tariq remained calm and composed. He listened carefully, allowed the negotiator to finish speaking, and then responded with clear and steady language. His calm presence gradually reduced the tension in the conversation. Because he did not react emotionally, the negotiation shifted toward a more balanced discussion. This example demonstrates that emotional control is one of the strongest tools for managing aggressive personalities. Another challenging personality type is the silent communicator. Some individuals speak very little during discussions, which can create confusion for others. Silence does not always mean agreement. Sometimes it indicates uncertainty, hesitation, or fear of expressing disagreement. A team leader named Samira once noticed that one of her team members named Arif rarely shared opinions during meetings. The rest of the team assumed Arif had nothing to contribute. However, Samira observed that Arif paid close attention to every discussion and often took detailed notes after the meeting. Samira asked Arif privately for his thoughts on the project. Arif shared several insightful ideas that had not been mentioned during the meeting. Samira realized that Arif simply preferred reflecting quietly before speaking. From that moment, she began inviting Arif to share his thoughts during meetings in a supportive way. His contributions soon became valuable to the entire team. This situation shows that understanding personality differences allows you to create opportunities for better communication. Another personality type you may encounter is the overly negative individual. These people often focus on problems rather than possibilities. Their constant criticism can reduce motivation within a group. Instead of arguing with negativity, a skilled communicator acknowledges the concern and redirects attention toward solutions. For example, during a community planning meeting, one participant repeatedly insisted that every proposed idea would fail. Meeting facilitator named Zara responded calmly by asking the participant to describe what changes might make the idea more successful. This simple shift turned negativity into constructive thinking because the participant began suggesting improvements rather than repeating criticism. Some people may also display passive behavior. Passive individuals often avoid expressing their true opinions directly. They may agree publicly, but later express dissatisfaction privately. Handling passive behavior requires encouraging honest communication in a respectful environment. Imagine a manager named Fahad who noticed that one employee frequently agreed with decisions during meetings but later complained to coworkers. Instead of confronting the employee publicly, Fahad invited them to discuss their concerns privately. He assured the employee that honest feedback was welcome during meetings. Gradually, the employee became more comfortable sharing opinions openly, which improved communication within the team. Another challenging personality type is the know-everything communicator. This person may constantly interrupt conversations to demonstrate knowledge or correct others. While this behavior can be frustrating, it often reflects a desire for recognition rather than arrogance. A lone professor named Dr. Kamal once had a student who frequently interrupted lectures to add additional information instead of discouraging. The student, Dr. Kamal, occasionally invited him to briefly share relevant insights with the class while maintaining control of the discussion. By acknowledging the student's enthusiasm while guiding the conversation, Dr. Kamal maintained respect and balance in the classroom. Understanding difficult personalities also requires patience. Changing communication patterns does not happen instantly. People often behave according to habits developed over many years. Your role is not to change their personality, but to respond in ways that guide the interaction toward respect and cooperation. Another important principle is maintaining boundaries. While empathy and patience are valuable, it is also important to protect yourself from disrespectful behavior. If someone repeatedly interrupts or speaks aggressively, you can respond calmly by saying that you would like to finish your point before continuing the discussion. This type of response is firm yet respectful and helps maintain professional standards. Consider a scenario where a consultant named Hina worked with a client who frequently interrupted her explanations. During one meeting, Hina politely said she would like to complete her explanation so the information could be clear. The client paused and allowed her to finish speaking. This small boundary improved communication and prevented repeated interruptions. Handling difficult personalities also becomes easier when you focus on solutions rather than personal conflict. When disagreements arise, keep the conversation centered on shared goals instead of individual differences. For example, two coworkers debating how to complete a project may become frustrated if they focus only on whose idea is better, but if they shift attention toward the goal of delivering the best result, the conversation becomes more collaborative. Another helpful strategy is maintaining perspective. Not every challenging interaction is personal. Sometimes people are experiencing stress unrelated to the conversation. Recognizing this possibility allows you to remain calm and avoid unnecessary emotional reactions. A customer speaking impatiently at a service desk may simply be dealing with pressure from other areas of life. Responding with patience rather than defensiveness often diffuses the situation quickly. As you continue developing your communication skills, you will notice that difficult personalities become less intimidating. Instead of feeling frustrated, you begin recognizing patterns, motivations, and emotional signals. This awareness allows you to respond with intelligence and professionalism. You learn that criticism may hide concern, aggression may hide insecurity, silence may hide thoughtful reflection, and negativity may hide fear of failure. Understanding these possibilities transforms how you interpret behavior. Handling difficult personalities becomes an opportunity to practice leadership, empathy, and emotional control. Each successful interaction strengthens your confidence and demonstrates the value of reading people carefully before responding. By mastering this skill, you become someone who can navigate even the most challenging conversations with patience, clarity, and respect. This ability not only improves professional success, but also strengthens personal relationships, because people recognize that you communicate with wisdom rather than reaction. Chapter 10. Creating trust through honest communication. Trust is the foundation of every meaningful relationship, whether in professional environments, friendships, families, or leadership roles. Trust determines how people interact, cooperate, and support each other. When trust is present, communication becomes open and productive. When trust is missing, conversations often feel guarded, Uncertain or tense learning, to read people and respond like a professional naturally leads to the ability to build trust. Honest communication is one of the strongest ways to create that trust. When people feel that your words are sincere and your intentions are genuine, they become more comfortable sharing their thoughts and feelings. Trust does not appear instantly. It develops through consistent behavior, respectful communication, and reliability. Over time, people observe how you speak, how you respond, and whether your actions match your words. Imagine a small company where a team leader named Amir was responsible for guiding a group of employees through an important project. The deadline was challenging, and the workload was heavy. Instead of hiding the difficulties, Amir spoke honestly with his team. He explained the situation clearly and acknowledged that the coming weeks would require extra effort. He also promised to support the team and listen to any concerns that might arise. Because Amir communicated honestly, the team trusted his leadership. They felt respected and understood, which motivated them to work together toward the shared goal. Honesty in communication means expressing ideas clearly, without manipulation, exaggeration, or hidden agendas. It also means being willing to admit uncertainty or mistakes when necessary. People believe that leaders or professionals must always appear perfect. In reality, honesty about limitations often increases credibility. Over time, the community members trusted Rashid because they knew he would honor his commitments. Consistency in small actions builds a reputation of reliability, which strengthens trust in larger responsibilities. Another important aspect of honest communication is transparency. Transparency means sharing information openly when appropriate, rather than keeping others in unnecessary uncertainty. 4. Example: a company manager named Samina once needed to implement changes in workplace policies. Instead of announcing sudden decisions without explanation, she invited employees to a meeting and explained the reasons behind the changes, answered questions patiently, and listened to the employees' feedback. Because Samina communicated transparently, the employees felt included in the process and supported the transition. Transparency shows respect for others' perspectives and reduces confusion or suspicion. Trust also grows when people feel emotionally safe. Emotional safety means knowing that your thoughts and feelings will not be mocked, dismissed, or used against you. A professional communicator creates emotional safety by listening without judgment and responding respectfully, even during disagreement. Imagine a university discussion group where students were encouraged to debate different ideas. The moderator named Khalid made it clear that every opinion would be respected as long as the discussion remained constructive. The environment felt safe. Students shared their perspectives openly, which led to richer and more thoughtful conversations. Creating emotional safety allows people to express themselves honestly without fear of embarrassment or criticism. Another element of trust involves fairness. When people believe they are treated fairly, they feel comfortable cooperating and communicating openly. A manager named Imran once faced a situation where two employees disagreed about responsibilities in a project. Instead of immediately supporting one side, Imran listened carefully to both perspectives before making a decision. His balanced approach showed fairness and strengthened trust within the team. Even employees who did not fully agree with the final decision respected the process because they felt their voices had been heard. Honest communication also requires courage. Sometimes, speaking honestly may feel uncomfortable, especially when delivering difficult feedback or addressing mistakes. However, avoiding these conversations can damage trust because problems remain unresolved. Imagine a partnership between two entrepreneurs named Zain and Bilal when a financial error occurred. Zain immediately informed Bilal and explained the situation openly. Although the mistake created temporary stress, the honesty allowed them to correct the issue quickly and maintain their strong partnership. If Zain had hidden the mistake, the consequences could have been much more serious. Honesty also includes recognizing and appreciating the efforts of others. Genuine appreciation strengthens trust because it shows that contributions are valued. A team member who receives sincere recognition for their work feels motivated and respected. For example, during a company meeting, a director named Hina publicly thanked her team for their dedication during a challenging project. She described specific efforts that had helped the company succeed. This appreciation created a sense of pride and strengthened trust between leadership and employees. Another powerful trust-building habit is keeping conversations confidential when necessary. When someone shares personal concerns or sensitive information, respecting their privacy shows integrity. Imagine a colleague named Asset who confided in a friend at work about a family challenge. If the friend keeps that conversation private, Asset feels safe continuing the friendship. However, if the information is shared with others, trust is quickly damaged. Respecting confidentiality demonstrates maturity and responsibility. Trust also deepens when you admit mistakes openly. Everyone makes errors at some point. The difference between trustworthy individuals and unreliable ones is how they respond to those mistakes. Admitting a mistake honestly and taking responsibility shows integrity and strength. A project coordinator named Nadia once discovered that she had misunderstood a client's instructions, which caused a delay. Instead of blaming others, she informed the client immediately and worked to correct the issue. The client appreciated her honesty and continued working with her because they trusted her. Professional integrity. As you practice honest communication, you will notice that relationships become stronger and conversations become more meaningful. People respond positively to sincerity because authenticity creates comfort and respect. You will also discover that honesty simplifies communication. When words reflect genuine thoughts, there is no need to remember complicated explanations or protect hidden intentions. Everything becomes clear and direct. Building trust is not a single action, but a continuous process. Every interaction contributes to the reputation you create through your behavior and communication. When people observe honesty, consistency, fairness, and respect, they naturally develop confidence in your character. This trust becomes a powerful advantage in both personal and professional life because it allows collaboration, leadership, and friendship to grow naturally. Mastering the art of reading people and responding like a professional ultimately leads to this important goal: creating relationships built on trust. When trust exists, communication becomes more open, decisions become more cooperative, and connections become more meaningful. By practicing honest communication, you become someone whose words carry credibility, whose actions inspire confidence, and whose presence encourages others to speak openly and work together with mutual respect and understanding. Conclusion: becoming a master of understanding and response. Learning to read people and respond like a professional is a journey that combines observation, empathy, active listening, rapport awareness of hidden intentions, emotional control, and honest communication. Each of these skills builds upon the other, forming a complete framework for interacting effectively with others. When you practice these abilities consistently, you develop a natural understanding of human behavior that allows you to navigate both personal and professional relationships with confidence and grace. Reading people begins with careful observation, noticing body language, facial expressions, tone of voice, and subtle behavioral cues. These signals reveal emotions, intentions, and attitudes that may not be expressed in words. When combined with empathy, you can interpret these signals in a way that respects the feelings and perspectives of others. This understanding forms the foundation for meaningful connections. Active listening deepens your ability to understand people. Listening fully without interruption and reflecting on what is shared allows you to capture both the explicit message and the emotional undertones. Behind every word lies a layer of meaning that attentive listening uncovers. When you respond thoughtfully based on what you hear, you show respect and create a safe space for open communication. Building Rapport strengthens every interaction. Rapport creates comfort, familiarity, and trust. People naturally gravitate toward those with whom they feel connected by matching communication styles. Showing genuine interest and using positive body language, you create relationships where cooperation and understanding flourish. Understanding hidden intentions allows you to see beneath the surface. People often speak with caution or hide true motivations by observing patterns, emotional signals, and repeated topics. You can respond to the real needs and concerns of others rather than reacting only to the words they say. Emotional control and confident responses are essential for navigating difficult conversations and high-pressure situations. Maintaining calm, clear communication, and respecting your own boundaries ensures that interactions remain constructive even when challenges arise. Responding with confidence does not require dominance. It requires steadiness, clarity, and thoughtful consideration of both your emotions and those of others. Handling difficult personalities becomes less intimidating as you develop the ability to recognize patterns, intentions, and triggers. Empathy combined with emotional control allows you to transform challenging interactions into opportunities for collaboration, growth, and understanding. By approaching difficult behavior with patience and intelligence, you maintain respect while guiding conversations toward positive outcomes. Finally, building trust through honest communication ties all these skills together. Trust is created through consistency, transparency, fairness, emotional safety, and integrity. When people know that your words align with your actions, they are more willing to share openly, cooperate fully, and follow your guidance. Without trust, even the most skilled observations and responses cannot achieve lasting impact. Mastering the art of reading people and responding like a professional transforms not only how others perceive you, but also how you perceive the world around you. You move from reacting impulsively to engaging thoughtfully, from misunderstanding intentions to anticipating needs, and from superficial exchanges to deeply meaningful connections. The journey is continuous. Each interaction offers an opportunity to practice, refine, and strengthen your skills. With dedication, you become someone who understands emotions, interprets signals, responds with wisdom, and inspires trust and cooperation. By combining observation, empathy, listening, rapport, intention awareness, emotional control, and honest communication, you gain the power to connect, authentically, influence effectively, and navigate the complexities of human interaction with confidence, clarity, and professionalism. In the end, mastering these skills is not about manipulation or control. It is about understanding, respect, and the ability to respond thoughtfully and meaningfully to the people around you. It is about becoming the kind of communicator who not only reads people accurately, but also elevates every conversation into an opportunity for connection, collaboration, and trust. The end.
Kindly subscribe to my channel.